So let's create our first ASP.NET Core Web API with a specific model, and let's create all of the create, read, update, deletes ourselves in a controller. Let's get to it. So let's create our application. So again, we can choose our ASP.NET Core Web API, and let's call this one, what is it today? Tuesday app, for example. Click on next. We choose our required stuff. Let's click on create. And here we get our application. And as we said in the previous lecture, we get a lot of default files. Let's delete the weather forecast and let us delete the weather controller. We don't need those two. And let's start with something easy, right? So let's start with creating a new class. Not in the controllers, so we see that we will create it there. Not in controllers, so right click on the project and let's add a new item. And that item, let it be a roller. Let me see how it's roller coaster. So let's create that class. So public class roller coaster. Let's try and put in some of the attributes for roller coaster. So first one will be the ID, right? We can have the name. We can have the, instead of description, we can have a location. Let's see what more we can have. We can have public double max speed. We can have, we can have year opened. And let's have, sorry for me coughing, I'm feeling a little bit sick today. And let's have public string. Let's have some big description. Yes, and let's, because we have the green errors here, let's make these strings empty and save it. So, pretty easy, right? So, this is our model, and what we want to do is we want to create now a create, read, update, delete, right? For this model. So we want to create a roller coaster object, add it to the database. We want to update, delete, and get all of the different informations, right? So let's do that now. But in this video, we're gonna do a fake database. And then in another video upcoming, we're gonna connect it to the real database. And when we connect it to the real database, I'm going to show you two different approaches. We can do the database first approach, where we create a database and then make models from database tables. Or we can do it like I did it right now. So we can create classes here, and then using those classes, create respective tables in the database. So those are the two approaches. The first one is the database first, where we do all of the things in the database and then import it here in Visual Studio in our API. And the other one is code first, as I did it now, create a class or several classes, make some adjustments, and then create using an entity framework package. We're going to create database and the tables for each of these class or model. So what we're going to do is go to the controllers, right click, add a controller. And here we have several different possibilities. We have the API, Blazor, MVC, Razor Pages, Identity, Layout. The ones that we are interested are the ones labeled with API. So we can have API empty, API read-write actions, API actions using entity framework, read and write endpoints, and read and write endpoints using entity framework. So let's start with the read and write actions. Then we will get all of the read and write actions that you usually have. And let's call this controller. So important, what did we say before? The name of the controller is going to be part of the address, right? So part of the URL when we send API methods or API HTTP calls to it. So important to know that. So let's make this roller coaster S, so multiple. So roller coasters controller, and let's add it. And as you see here, we got an API controller. Let's delete this stuff. So we have a route, we have an API controller, we have the roller coasters controller with get by ID, post, put, and delete. And as you see, they don't do much. So we only created them. So what we can do directly off the bat is let's have something here. So let's put a comment. Let us have a fake DB of roller coasters, right? And instead of me declaring a new, or I can declare a new list with a bunch of dummy data, let's do it like this. So let's go here. And why you should learn to use chat in an appropriate way is to, first of all, be more effective, be more productive, and do things faster. So if you know what you want to do, for example, like we are trying to do this. So if I copy this and go to here, I can do it like this, paste the class and say, I want to have a dummy list with 10 different roller coasters that I can use as my fake DB. So let's do it like this. And you see, he's going to create a method, but we don't want a method. So this is the issue that, or actually it isn't an issue. I said that I want to use it as my fake database, so he's going to create a fake database. But let's us don't use that, and instead we will just use the stuff that he created. Something to learn, something to take notice of. We can do that later on as well. We can use something that is called a package that's called bogus NuGet package that helps us create here. That helps us create the dummy data much faster. So a simple and sane data generator for populating objects that support different locales. So this we can install in our application in order for us to generate the dummy data. So if you go back, we can go here, get our data, and I want to get only this part. So let's do it like this. We do it a list of roller coasters. Coaster list is this. Nice. Then for our get API roller coaster, so let us delete this one. And let's say that here we want to return a IEnumerable list of roller coasters, and that will be coaster list. Yes, like this. So we have a HTTP get method, and let's maybe adjust it a little bit. Let's say that we want this to be get, or for example, get all roller coasters. So if let's just quick recap what I did. I have a dummy list here, or a list that has 10 different roller coasters. And what I do with this API call, or with this get method to my, let's see, my localhost 7290. So localhost 7290 /API /roller coaster /get or roller coasters. So this is the address where I'm going to send the HTTP get method, and what that is going to do is going to trigger this method, I want to change the name of the method as well. I want it to represent actually what it does, to be self-explanatory. So we can say get all of the roller coasters from fake DB. So fake database, let's say it like that. And what it returns is the coaster list. So if we run it, it will open our Swagger. It's coming soon here. Nice. And then we have all of the requests. Of course, the other ones don't work because we don't have anything in them, as you see. So let's try out our first. So get API roller coasters, get all roller coasters. So if I do it like this, I return my array with all of the roller coasters, right? Pretty nice. So it's that simple. So you decide what your controller name is. That will be the address, right? And then you add a prefix if you want. So /API/roller coasters. Then I have my API methods, right? So create, read, update, delete. So with those, I match them with a HTTP method. If I want, I can further explain the address or add a specific name to the address so that it is again self-explanatory, or that it's pretty readable so everybody understands what's happening. And then when I match that with a call, it triggers this method, and what this method does is just return a list, right? So pretty simple, pretty easy exercise. So what I want you to do is try to fix rest of these yourself. So if you want, you can pause the video and try to fix these on your own. Otherwise, you can continue with me. So I will show you how we do the rest of these actions. So let's continue with this one. So here we have the ID. So if I start, you will see that we have the ID here. And this ID will become a parameter that we can use here when we try to find a specific roller coaster. So I want to do something like this and do get a roller coaster by ID, and then have this ID that will become this parameter. So if I write 7 here in the URL, so in the address, I will get the 7 here and I can get it. So let me show you. So if we do something like this, console.writeLine, and then we can do the ID. This is the ID. So and I can even put a breakpoint here. And what I want to do, and let's change as well the get roller coaster by ID, so that we know what the method is and what the address is, so that we match everything and it becomes quite understandable for everybody. So what we want to do, right, is return a roller coaster by ID. Or we can say like this. So this is again the stuff that I've been talking about before. We decide the naming convention for our variables. So let's see, what are we trying to do here? We are trying to find roller coaster by ID, right? So let's see, roller coaster that we are trying to find by ID. It can be named like that, so why not? So how do we find it? We find it like this. Coaster list dot first or default, and then we can find it with roller coaster. So this is again a variable that we decide what its name is, and I can just press tab because it recommends the right stuff. So I'm trying to find the first. If you want to know what this first or default method how it works, you can hover over it. So it says that it returns the first element of the sequence that satisfies a condition or default value if not such method is found. So I could have used where as well, but I like first to default more. So we use this one, and what this can be, or what this does, is finds a roller coaster in our list where the ID is the same. But what can happen? It can happen that roller coaster is null, right? So if it's null, then what we can do, we can maybe return not found, and then we can return like maybe some some message. Sorry again for coughing. We can return a specific message like roller coaster with ID is not found. So this, and instead of string, we're going to return a action result that is actually the roller coaster, right? Because that's what we want to return. We don't want to return strings. We want to return a result that is the roller coaster. If you want to learn about result, you can hover, go here to action result, and then you can see how it's structured. And I will talk about that later on. Right now, we only want to focus on create, read, update, delete. So we'll talk a lot more about the return types, as well as we are almost always going to wrap something up in something called operation result that is similar to this action result, but we want to structure it a little bit more unique and how do you say it? Everybody likes that word, generic. Yeah, so we want to structure it like that. So let's do it like this. So first we're going to try to find it by ID. If it's null, we return not found. If not, then we can return the OK status code with the roller coaster that we are trying to find by ID. So simple as that. So let's look at this, how it works. So the first thing that we need is ID, right? So we want to find it by ID, and we have it here. API, roller coasters. I have roller coasters. It feels like I didn't write it right, misspelled it. But we have get roller coaster by ID, and then we have the ID. So in this Swagger generation it's built really nice, so it's going to ask us. It knows that it has an ID parameter that is required. So if I write, for example, 50 here, so I want the ID to be 50. If I click on execute, I will stop here on my breakpoint, and I can inspect the ID. You see, 50. And I know if I go further down the line, you can debug. For you beginner students, you have the F10 that you can step over. You have a step into, F11 to go into a method, and then you have the step out, Shift and F11. So what I'm doing now is stepping over, so executing one or each line of the code step by step. So here we see that this is currently null, but if I execute it, then it's null. We know that it didn't found it, and if I click on step over now, I'm definitely sure that it's going to go in here because it is null, and we will get back not found. So if I do it like this, you see that it went into, and I can click on continue now. It will take us back to the Swagger, and you see roller coaster with ID 50 is not found. So pretty easy. If we try again, I don't know why I stopped the application, but let's see here. If we try with 3, execute. So this is 3, nice. If we go here, it found something, and it's the Six Flags Great Adventure, max speed 128, King Ka 2005 opened. So if we go here, it really is that one. Nice. So if I press continue, I will get back that roller coaster. So pretty nice. And again, pretty simple. So you decide which address we are going to reference, or which address we want to match with what HTTP request, and then what happens inside that API endpoint. So now we have the create, right? So create, we need to create a roller coaster, right? And in order for us to create a roller coaster, I can take this away. So in order to create a roller coaster, we need all of this, right? So here, HTTP post, I want to add a URL, and let's say that it's create a new roller coaster. That will be the, I can take away these comments because I don't like them. They are not valuable for me. So create a roller coaster, and let's make this create a roller coaster. Let's name it differently. And what I expect from user. So this is important. We didn't talk about this before. So here we talked about that in the anatomy, if you go back to that video. But what we are doing here is specifying nothing. We just send a HTTP GET method. Here we are dependent on the ID, right, in order to execute our logic. And then here in the post method, we want to create something. So if you remember the anatomy of the post request, we need data. So we want to create an object, but in order to create something, like to save it in a database or do something with it, we need to send data. And the format that we expect now when we want to create, so we want to create a roller coaster, right? So what we need is all of the properties or attributes that the class has. So the class that is the roller coaster, right? And that will be ID, name, location, max speed, year open, and description, right? So I need all of those. So from body, I can directly write that I am expecting every attribute that is roller coaster. And here I can say new roller coaster to create. So this is just my naming convention, but I am deciding that this variable is going to be named. So let's see how it works if we do it like this. And I can just stop it here. Creating. Let's only have one line so that we can stop it here. So if I run it, we can see that we have now a post that is API roller coasters, create a new roller coaster, and request body, the Swagger, it feels or it knows what type of object we need to send, so which type of data, what attributes. So it knows that it's going to be a roller coaster. And here it says to us that in order for us to send this request, we need to provide this stuff. So ID, name, location, max speed, year opened, and description. So let's do that. Let's add one, name of coaster, location Sweden, max speed, year open 2010, and description most entertaining is with E, right? Most entertaining coaster of all time. So if I execute it now, you see that it hit my breakpoint, and if I hover the object that is the type of roller coaster class, I can see that I got all of my properties. So description, ID, location, max speed, name, and year opened. So if I want, or what I can do now is I can add it to my list, and let's do that. So I know that I created my coaster. So the only part that is remaining is only adding this to our list, right? So if I go, what is my name, coaster list, right? Or what is the name? Yeah, coaster list. So coaster list dot add new roller coaster to create. So that's the only thing that I need to do, right? So if we do it like that, or I don't need to remove that. It is okay that we stop again. So if I try to create it again, and I can write the same things again, because last time we didn't save it. Location Sweden, max speed 999, year opened 2019, and description fun. So if I send it, it stops here. I can hover, see that, yeah, I got all of my stuff. I can remove the breakpoint. I can click on continue. It adds to the list. Nice. And if I want to check it, if it really added it to the list, I can do it like this. And let's see if it's added. It didn't add. Yeah. And it didn't add because I forgot something here. Let's break this, and this should be a private static list. So now then, if we try again, if we go here, we go to post, let's try to create something with an ID. Let's say that is Nemo demo, location Sweden, max speed 123, year opened 2010, and description nice. If I send it now, I get that it's created. If I go and try to get all of the roller coasters, then I can see that it didn't, that it's right here. So here it is. So I only forgot private static, because static is going to use the in-memory database, and we're going to have this instance of the coaster list. So that's how we add, and of course it's as simple as that. But if we want to have a little bit more error handling and stuff like that, like we can check if already the ID exists, or if the name is the same or similar, we can add the error handling here. But this is a demo video, and I will try to keep it short so you can focus on that. But of course, don't forget to add error handling. That's quite important. So next up is the updating. So let's write here that we want to update. And what did we talk about? We talked about the two different versions. We have pat and we have put. We have put and then we have patch, right? So with put, we need to update the entire object, right? And with patch, we can update a certain bits of it. So let's use HTTP patch instead of put, because we don't want to update the entire object. Let's only do like a certain string, for example, name, roller coaster name, updated. So, and here instead of put, this will be called, and this will be called as well. I forgot to fix that. Patch roller coaster name. So, or instead of patch, we can say update. And here again, update roller coaster name. So, and here we need ID because we want to find the, of course, the roller coaster by ID that we want to update, and then we update with the name that we mentioned here. So the first thing to do is as we did here. So roller coaster that we are trying to find by ID, we can keep it like that. It's pretty nice. And then we can also have this one as well. It will be nice. And let's, instead of void, let's use action result. So what we want to do next is, because we have the name, so we found the roller coaster that we're trying to update, that we're trying to find by ID, but it doesn't matter. You can come up with your own naming convention for this one. You can call it whatever you will. So what we want to do is roller coaster that we are trying to find by ID dot name is the roller coaster name updated. Exactly what we want to do. And what we can do, we can return the updated one. So we can, if we want, return the entire roller coaster that we are trying to find by name. But it's typically not the use case. When you update, even if you create, what you want to do is return a specific status code that doesn't actually reveal too much. Because what we do when we add some kind of object to the database, we create an ID and maybe we populate it with some sensitive information, right? So we don't want to show that sensitive information back to the user, right? We only want to assure them that the user is created, right? So for example, here we can do an action result, and we can return OK with the roller coaster with name new roller coaster to create dot name is created. And then here, instead of maybe returning this one, because we again don't want to return the entire, as if we pretend that this is not a fake list that we have here, we have it from the database in maybe has sensitive information. So instead of returning the entire object with the sensitive information, we can return only that, again, something similar like, where did I have here? So roller coaster with the name, and then we have this one is updated. So let's try the update. So if we go here, we go to the patch, we find the ID that is, we can type 5, and then the name should be Nemo updated. So if we see first that number 5 is Fury, okay, number 5 is Fury. If I execute, roller coaster with name Nemo updated is updated. Nice, okay. So if we get all, or I can get by ID, I can get the 5 because we did that with 5. We can see that the name is Nemo updated. So it did update the name. Nice, pretty easy, right? And the last one is delete. And the delete we can do again, delete a roller coaster with the help of ID. Delete is, we can keep it like that, we don't need to change the name. So again, what we want to delete is this, we want this error handling as well, and instead of void, let's have a action result. So roller coaster that we are trying to, let's see, delete by ID, let's give it that name, delete by ID is, if not, roller coaster is not found. Otherwise we can do, what can we do? It is roller coaster, no, coaster list, sorry, coaster list dot remove, and we can write this one like that. Nice. And then we can return. So in the delete we can do similar stuff as here, like we can delete, we can return OK, roller roller coaster with the ID, maybe with the ID, and here we can have roller coaster that we are trying to delete dot ID is deleted. But this is only a user-friendly message, right? And we are trying always to send user-friendly messages. But when it comes to delete, what people want to do as soon as we did this, so as soon as we remove an object from the database, from our application, we don't want to reference it ever again. So if user wanted to delete it, nice, we delete it from the database, and then we don't want any connection or some attributes from that referring anywhere in our application. So as soon as we delete it, we want it to remove it totally from our application. So what you oftentimes would see is something like no content. So that will be the return type for the delete. So if we try it, if we try deleting a roller coaster by ID, let's say 44, that is not existent. We get a roller coaster with ID 44 does not exist. Okay, but if we type 1, that is, let's see, what is 1? 1 is Thunderbolt. Okay, so if we delete that one, we can see that we got the no content back. Nice. If we get all controllers, we see that we don't have the ID 1, right? We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice. And if we want to get it by ID 1, roller coaster with ID 1 is not found. So nice. We know that it works. So when it comes to creating your own create, read, update, delete with the dummy data, this is it. But focus on several stuff. So focus, especially now when we started, focus on the addresses. So a route of the controller and the route of the API endpoint, like of the HTTP request. Focus on naming convention for all of your methods, what they return. Return type, we are going to discuss a little bit further down the line to adjust it to our needs. But focus on those stuff and focus on the return if you want to be better, of course. And if you don't want to wait further down the line for our specific return times, you can go and try to find and understand all of the status codes for returning, as well as community guidelines and best practices for return types or status codes when it comes to API endpoints. So that is something that you can do. But main rule oftentimes for me is making it user-friendly as much as possible, because again, somebody that is going to use these API endpoints is certainly some other human being, user, or another developer maybe working in a front-end application. So what you want to return as a response is something that is user-friendly, like a message or data or something like that, that is quite understandable so that it can easily be used down the line. So readable, understandable, that is the main point when you are developing. Same thing as you're writing code, you want to write easy and understandable code. Same thing with the response types for the API. So make sure that everybody understands if a person tried to do something, if they did it nice, the Swedish kicking in. So if you did something nice, then and it succeeded, then you return OK message with the OK, you succeeded in creating this one. If something went wrong, then you return OK, you try to, for example, update the roller coaster with ID this one, but that is not found. Try with some other ID, right? So user-friendly messages. So this is a simple create, read, update, delete with a roller coaster class and a fake list or a fake database that we have here that is a list. Go through this again, do it yourself, find another class that you want, that you can practice with, and try to do this. Next lesson, we're going to implement all of this again, but with the connection to the database and those two types that two ways that I talked about before. Database first or code first. So that will be our next lesson. Thank you for today and see you in the next one.